who is Assyria. We talk about it all the time, and people want to deny. I've given you some clues already, you sort of know. It talks about them in the last days, but who are they? Where did they go? And what are they called today? Noah had Shem, and Shem had Asher and Arpachshad. Asher, we don't know the direct lineage, but it goes down and becomes Sargon. That's one of the earliest Assyrian kings that we know about. Arpachshad had Selah and then Eber, and Eber is where we get the Hebrews from. That's where we get the Iberian Peninsula. That's where we get Ireland from, that same name. Now Sargon was one of the first emperors over all the kings of Assyria. And we know this is the Assyrian Empire. And this empire keeps on intervening and coming across from the time of Abraham, David, even though you don't read about it that much, it's there, all the way down and even in these last days. And I'm going to show you this week how close we are to the end of this age, when all this stuff is going to happen. The ancient Assyrians are also known as the Akkadians. So when you're doing your research online and you're looking this stuff up, when you see Akkadians, that's another name for the Assyrians. I do things a little bit differently. I don't know why, but I attack things from a different angle. So we're going to do that today. The god of the Assyrians was Ashur, and Ashur is also known as Athur, or Athur, or Atir. And what I'm doing is what I showed you yesterday is how the names, by the pronunciation, gets changed a little bit. Atir was later known as Tyre, or Tyr or Tyre. Now you've all heard of Tyre or Tyr. We read it in Ezekiel 28:1. The word of Jehovah came again to me, saying, Son of man, say to the ruler of Tyre, right there it is, right there, again. So who's he talking to? So says Lord Jehovah, because your heart is lifted up, and you have said, does this not sound like something Isaiah said about someone else lifting up their heart, thinking them high? It's similar. You have said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, yet you are a man and not God, though you set your heart as a heart of God's. This emperor that's coming is going to think that he's a God, and yet he's just another man just like you and I. But that's what power does to a person, or can. Behold, you are wiser than Daniel. And when I read this, reviewed this last night, and I chopped out some stuff for you. Wiser than Daniel. I never saw that before. All secret things are not hidden from you. And I said, wow. I didn't realize, and I got it spaced there, but it didn't realize, because the stuff I'm talking about this week is the secrets of Daniel. What made Daniel so sick? Because you guys are going to leave here this week sick. I hope not from food but sick from the message. When you realize the depth of it, the depth of this message is going to make you sick. Athur also became known as the god Thor. How many of you went and seen this movie? A few of you. I wanted to because I thought it'd be exciting, but I didn't get to see it. I haven't seen it yet. In Norse mythology, Thor is a hammer-wielding god associated with thunder, lightning, storms, oak trees, strength, the protection of mankind. What? What? The protection of mankind. I'm going to do a bunch of reading here because you need to understand, because this is where Jehovah's talking from in his prophecies in Jeremiah. And if you don't get this, you ain't going to get that. And if you don't get that, you ain't going to get what's going on today. Can you say ain't? It's not allowed in Canada. Oh, man. Ain't. It's supposed to say is not. The protection of mankind, and also hallowing, healing, and fertility. The deity is, in wider Germanic mythology and paganism, was known in Old English as Dunor, and in Old High German as Donar, D-O-N-A-R, stemming from a common Germanic meaning, thunder, punraz, thunder. So all these things are things you already kind of know about Thor. Thor is a prominently mentioned God throughout the recorded history of the Germanic peoples. And yet, you guys know about him. So where do we get this Thor from? From your Bible. Really. Open it up and read it. Everything you need to know is in the book of Genesis. Everything. It stuns me how much is there. Cush, the father of Nimrod, was also called Mercury. And from Alexander Hislop's Two Babylons, we're going to read a little bit. So I'm going to quote him, so I'm going to speak a little bit different. I'm going to speak in like a different language. It's like Old English. Here there is a manifest enigma. How could Mercury, so here's the question, how could Mercury or Hermes, another name for him, have any need to interpret the speeches of mankind? Because this is what Hermes' job was. This is what Mercury does. He's an interpreter. When they all spake, and so when he's doing this, they all spoke one language. To find out the meaning of this, we must go to the language of the mysteries. Peresh, so there's Peresh, in Chaldean signifies to interpret, but was pronounced by old Egyptians and by Greeks and often by Chaldees themselves. In the same way was Peres, P-R-E-R-E-S, to divide. Mercury then, or Hermes, or Cush, the son of Ham, was the divider of the speeches of men. He, it would seem, had been the ringleader in the scheme of building the great city and tower of Babel. Cush was the instigator of the building of Babel. Nimrod did it, but Cush is behind it, pushing him and encouraging him. And as the well-known title of Hermes, the interpreter of the gods, would indicate, had encouraged them in the name of God. So this is the mythology telling you what the Bible's telling you. To proceed in their presumptuous enterprise, and so had caused the language of men to be divided, and themselves to be scattered abroad on the face of the earth. So, look at this picture. This is a picture of Mercury, also Hermes, which is Cush. Cush. Pay attention to what's in his hand. That is the secret here. Now look at the name of Belus, or Bel, given to the father of Ninus, or Ninus is Nimrod. And in connection with this, while the Greek name Belus represented both the Baal and Bel, B-A-A-L and B-E-L, of the Chaldees, these were nevertheless two entirely distinct titles. These titles were both alike, often given to the same God, but they had totally different meanings. Baal, as we have already seen, signified the Lord. But Bel signified, B-E-L, signified the confounder. When then we read that Belus, the father of Ninus, was he that built or founded Babylon, can there be any doubt in what sense it was that the title of Belus was given to him? So we're going to pause here for a sec. You need to go and read Alexander Hislop's Two Babylons. It's challenging. You think my stuff is challenging? I found him challenging. It's challenging, but you need to read it because that's going to explain what is going on today. Why these traditions that you have, or that you used to have, are here. Nimrod in hieroglyphics is depicted as the spotted fawn. It comes from the idea that when Jehovah made clothes for Adam and Eve after they sinned, Genesis 3:21, and for Adam and his wife, Jehovah God made coats of skin and clothed them. And because Adam wore this skin cloth, it became like the leader's robe. And everyone wanted to be like the leader. And it was made from a spotted fawn, according to mythology. I can't prove that. But today in Africa, this is the things that they fight over. Who gets to wear the leopard skin? So the spotted fawn has now become the spotted leopard. And this is a king courting 3,000 virgins to find out who or how many of them will be his wife. So he's wearing his kingly attire. This is Swaziland, and that's a colored picture. So you know it's not that old. Mythology says the skin was a spotted fawn after Adam died. This same skin was likened to the rulership of the human race. And Cush stole it from the place where it was after Adam died, and then hid it, and later gave it to his son Nimrod. And if you see all the statues of Nimrod, you can see it in the black Buddhas of the Middle East. That is Nimrod. He's a black man, short curly hair, big puffy lips, and flattened nose. That's Nimrod. This isn't a race thing, that's just who he is. And that's why this picture shows you what has been passed down. The title of Belus was given to Cush. Must have been in the sense of Bel, the confounder. And to this meaning of the name of the Babylonian Bel, and I, I'm sort of laughing up here. I'm thinking, boy, these people just got out of bed, and I'm giving them all this hard stuff real fast first thing in the morning. Oh no! And to this meaning of the name of Babylonian Bel, there is a very distinct allusion, here it is, in Jeremiah 52, where it is said, Bel is confounded. That is, the confounder is brought to confusion. It's a play on words because of what's going on back in the beginning of after the flood. The confounder is brought to confusion. That Cush was known to pagan antiquity under the very character of Bel, B-E-L, the confounder. A statement of Ovid very clearly proves this. Okay, so we're going to come back to this in a minute. There's a ton of info here, and I have chopped already. And because of time restraints, we missed 80 slides last night about England and the Bible. It was awesome. I go home and read it, so I get to review it. The statement to which I refer, that I just read, is that in which Janus, J-A-N-U-S, that's the double-faced God, who is the God of gods, from whom all the other gods had their origin, is made to say of himself, the ancients called me chaos. Are you following this? The ancients called me chaos. Who's chaos? Cush. Now, first, this decisively shows that chaos was known not merely as a state of confusion, but as the god of confusion. But secondly, who that is at all acquainted with the laws of Chaldaic pronunciation, so if you know how to read Chaldean, does not know that chaos is just one of the established forms of the name of Cush, K or C-H-U-S, or Cush, C-U-S-H. Then look at the symbol for Janus, whom the ancient called chaos. And it will be seen how exactly it tallies with the doings of Cush when he is identified with Bel the confounder. I know this is, ask for the notes. I will give them to you. So that symbol is a club. Do you see the club in his hand? That symbol is a club. And the name of the club in Chaldean comes from the very word which signifies to break in pieces or scatter abroad. The name of Cush is also K-H-U-S, for S-H frequently passes into Chaldean into S, and K-H-U-S in pronunciation legitimately becomes Kawas, K-H-A-W-O-S, or without the gamma, chaos, K-H-A-O-S. The Etruscan name on the reverse of a metal Bel Athri, Lord of Spies, is probably given to Janus as an allusion to his well-known title, Janus Tuens, T-U-E-N, which may be rendered Janus the Seer, or the all-seeing Janus. So what I'm talking about is some mythology, and it's going right over your heads, and you're saying, what have I stepped into this morning? This is ancient history, and it's going to come back to bite you if you don't know it. And that's what I'm trying to show you. Pay attention to the club. Okay, so if you don't get anything, watch the club. Okay, if everything goes like this, watch the club. The club was Cush. We're going to talk about the club in Jeremiah. The club is Cush, the confounder, who breaks in pieces and divides up the world. And because when we get to the end, you're going to go, what's the saying down here? What? No, not a V8. Slap my gra or something like that. What do you guys say down here? Slap my britches. Slap my britches. That's what y'all be doing. In Proverbs 25:18, a maul or club, and Judas, hang on a second, you want to hear this. A maul or club is mephatz, M-E-P-H-A-I-T-Z. In Jeremiah 51:20, the same word without the yod is evidently used for a club, though in our version it is rendered battle axe. So this club is now depicted as a battle axe. For the use of it is not to cut asunder, but to break in pieces. Proverbs 25:18, a man who bears false witness against his neighbor is a maul, a battle axe, and a sword, and a sharp arrow. Who's bearing false witness here? Cush. It goes back to Cush. Jeremiah 51:20, you are my war club, you are my battle axe, you are my club, and weapons of peace and prosperity. Be happy, and wrong message. And weapons of war, for with you, who's talking here? Jehovah, with you, your weapons of war, with you, your battle axe, with you, I, Jehovah, will shatter nations, and with you, I will destroy kingdoms. What? Jehovah, the God of love and peace and prosperity, is going to shatter nations? That's not, no, that's the God of the Old Testament. I don't believe in that God. A maul, a mephatz, a club, a battle axe, breaking in pieces. Keep these names in mind as we go forward. Just keep coming back to them. They keep showing up. He who caused the confusion of tongues was he who broke the previously united earth. Genesis 11:1. In pieces and scattered the fragments abroad. How significant then, as a symbol, is the club as commemorating the work of Cush as Bel, the confounder. And that significance will be all the more apparent when the reader, so I'm reading from Hislop right now, when the reader turns to the Hebrew of Genesis 11:9, and finds that the very word from which a club derives its name is that which is employed when it is said that in consequence of the confusion of tongues, the children of men were scattered abroad on the face of all the earth. The word there used for scattering abroad is hephates. Hephates. So I can't pronounce it right. It's right there. You can read it. Hephates, which in the Greek form becomes hephates. So it's the next one down, spelled the same way, pronounced a little bit differently, I think. I don't know. And hence the origin of the well-known but little understood name of Hephaestos, as applied to Vulcan, the father of the gods. Remember the Vulcans? You see the connections? Boom, 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 boom. Vulcan in the classical pantheon had not commonly so high a place, but in Egypt, Hephaestos, or Vulcan, was called the father of the gods. So we have Cush, the father of Nimrod, Cush, Chaos, father of the gods, Bel, confounder of tongues, father of the gods. Janus, also called Chaos, was also the father of the gods. Hephaestos, Vulcan, father of the gods. And Saturn was also the father of the gods. Who we talk about? The same person, Cush. All these different mythologies, Roman, Greek, Egypt, Chaldean, Babylonian, they're all about the same person. They just got different names. I call you, hey, you, because I can't remember your name. And you say yes. So from now on, you're hey, you. If I call your name Janet and your name's really Bill, and you keep answering to Janet, I'll keep calling you Janet. Because I can't remember your names. The names change. But it's talking about one person, and that person is Cush. We all think it's Nimrod. It's Cush. Hephaestos is the name of the ringleader in the first rebellion as the scatterer abroad, as Bel is the name of the same individual as the confounder of tongues. Here then the reader may see the real origin of Vulcan's hammer. See his hammer there? He's carrying it. Of Vulcan's hammer, which is just another name for the club of Janus or the club of Chaos, the club of Cush. Here we have a seal on a jar. Hephaestus flies back to heaven from exile on the shores of the river Okeanos in a winged chariot decorated with the heads of cranes. The god holds the double-headed mallet of the smith in his hand. So when you read the Book of the Dead, how many of you read the Book of the Dead? No. How many of you read Alexander Hislop's Two Babylons? All right, good. You haven't read the Book of the Dead yet? How many read the Dead Sea Scrolls? Okay, good. Cover to cover? Not me. No. There is so much information out there that helps explain. Your Bible is just your skeleton outline of the body. The meat and potatoes you got to go up and find and put them together. And I'm giving you some meat today. Vulcan, the god of confusion, and to this, as breaking the earth in pieces, there is a covert allusion in Jeremiah 23:29. Is not my word like a fire, who's speaking Jehovah, and like a hammer that breaks the rock in pieces? Jehovah's talking, and you don't know what he's talking about. And now you have the whole picture because it's coming back to Cush. Babylon, as identified with its primeval god, is thus apostrophized. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? Do you see that? Do you see that right there? Do you actually listen to the words Jehovah is using which tell you what he is referring to? Or you just read right over top of it and think, I don't get it, so plow on to the next chapter. We got to get through this because we got a new Torah reading to do tomorrow. Jeremiah, let's read it. Jeremiah 50:22. A sound of battle is in the land, and a great ruin. How, here it is, how the hammer of the whole earth is cut off and broken. How Babylon has become a ruin. When is this talking about? Jeremiah thinks he's talking about Babylon in his day. But Babylon in his day wasn't cut off. Babylon was just coming on. He's talking about the Babylon in our day. It's going to be cut off. How the hammer of the whole world is cut off. You, even some of you old buzzards, are going to live to see this. Yeah, you. Moses didn't start his work until he was 80. You are going to see this. Now, back to Hislop. Now, as the tower building was the first act of open rebellion after the flood, and Cush as Bel was the ringleader in it, he was, of course, the first to whom the name Merodach, if I got M-E-R-O-D-A-C-H, the great rebel, must have been given, and therefore, so this is the title given to Cush, therefore, according to the usual parallelism of the prophetic language, we find both names in the Babylonian god referred to together when the judgment of Babylon is predicted. Bel is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. There it is. Jeremiah 52. Declare among the nations and cause them to hear, and lift up a banner. What are we talking about? Banners? Flags. Heraldry. I'm going to show you more heraldry this morning. Heraldry. Cause them to hear. Listen up, people. Listen. Do not hide it. Say it out loud. Because what I'm saying is so controversial, people are going to get mad. Judith ain't here. I can say it now. Mad. Bel is ashamed. Who's Bel? Merodach is broken in pieces. Her images are shamed and her idols are broken in pieces. It takes you right back to the Tower of Babel. It takes you right back to the instigation and all the rebellion going on before the tower was built. Jehovah's seen the end at the beginning and tells you the end at the beginning. Vulcan's hammer, which is a symbol for Cush, who broke in pieces the nations at the Tower of Babel, would later be used by the ruling powers to break in pieces the world as a symbol of their warring ability. It's a badge. This is my 2x4. I'm coming here to slap you upside the head, knock some sense into you. I like this. I just got this last night. It's a symbol. Moses' staff was a symbol. Aaron's rod was a symbol. Yeshua's shepherd's staff is a symbol. Thor's club is a symbol. Genesis 10:6, and the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan. And Cush fathered Nimrod. He began, who are we talking about? He began to be a mighty one in the earth. Who? Cush. Cush began to be a mighty one in the earth. Okay, some people say Nimrod, because Nimrod was a mighty hunter. And it's both. He was a mighty hunter before Jehovah. Therefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Jehovah. What's that mean? He was a hunter of men. Nimrod was the one that went out and gathered the people and brought them back to Babylon. Cush was doing the same thing. And in mythology, they had a head-butting contest. Judah's not here. I can tell you this story now. No, I won't. It's just like I've been let go, free to do whatever I want. Vicky's back there. I just heard her. Okay, so I won't say that. But Nimrod and Cush had a head-butting contest. And Nimrod did something to his dad. And his dad took his people, and they left. And this is where we get the Book of the Dead from. And they left. And they went down to the country called outside, I'm forgetting all my names right now. Down around Saudi Arabia, and came over to the land of Put. And then came up to and took over Mitzrayim. So why is the Babylonian religion and the Egyptian religion the same? Because it comes from the same place. Their father came around. After Nimrod beat him up, he came around. The Book of the Dead talks about going back because Nimrod came down after him to take that kingdom later. And then it talks about going back because they're trying to figure out how does Noah live to be so old. So the Book of the Dead talks about going back. This is the book going on the ship across the sea, the Great Sea, going back. And he's going back up, and I'm going around Saudi Arabia here, so he's going back up to see Noah. And I've been to Noah's Ark. And it's an awesome story. So I won't get into that. That's a whole story about the Noah's Ark. I've got 5 big articles on my site. It's an awesome story. Look it up. Notice that today we have men who are fishing as the apostles did, looking for other brethren, which is what I'm doing, which is what you're supposed to be doing. Fishers of men. Who are the hunters? Because they're coming, and they're coming fast. They're already here. That's why I was ticked off this morning, because they're already here, and they're already raping your daughters. Even here in this group. The hunters shoot first, and they ask questions later. They capture with a net. Who are the hunters? Nimrod was a hunter of men. Who is the hunters? I had a picture of him yesterday. He sold his heritage for a bowl of soup. Who are the hunters? Ishmael, Esau, Nimrod. There's your line. What's going on in the world today? Islam, Ishmael, Islam, Esau. They're hunting. They don't take prisoners. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, and the land of Shinar. And out of that land he went forth to Ashur, and he built Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, which is a great city. So right here we have a huge development. You are now seeing the king of the north, Ashur, and the king of the south, Nimrod in Babylon. Right there, Genesis 10, king of the north, king of the south. You don't read about it until you get to Daniel. But there they are. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it happened as they traveled from the east. So when they came from the east, from the ark of Noah's Ark, they followed the Euphrates. And when the Euphrates comes down and turns into the plain, that's when you come out of southern Turkey, right in northern Syria. It opens up and there's a big plain. And it happened as they traveled from the east and found a plain in the land of Shinar. So you read here the land of Shinar. That's Shinar. You read another prophecy in Zechariah, I believe it is. They will go and build these flying scrolls, and they build a house for them in Shinar. So this is where Shinar is in northern Syria. Where did Israel bomb and get in trouble for? Something that was going on. Northern Syria. This is where they're going to build the missiles that are going to be launched to cause all the hell that's coming. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly." So who's making the brick? Who said this? This is a god. Her name is Semiramis. Her symbol is a statue of her with a fortress on her head made out of brick. We'll come back to that many times here. This is where it comes from. And they had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build us a city and a tower, and its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered upon the face of the whole earth." They want to build a name for themselves. And Jehovah came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of Adam had built. And Jehovah said, "Behold, this people is one, and they all have one language. And this they begin to do." This is what they begin to do. "And now nothing which they have imagined to do will be restrained from them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they cannot understand one another's speech." So Jehovah scattered them abroad from that place upon the face of the earth. And they quit building the city. And he used for the scattering the hammer of Cush, the interpreter of the language, when they all spoke one language. There it is. He doesn't spell it out here, but he's been spelling it out. Therefore the name of it's called Babel, because Jehovah confused the language of all the earth there, and from there Jehovah scattered them abroad on the face of the earth. So now let's identify Assyria. You've probably already figured it out, but let's identify it so you can take this home and prove it to your neighbor. In the land of Assyria are these people called the Hatti or Kati. The C or the H, depends on which language you're speaking, disappears or shows up. Right? We don't say H in Hebrew or South African or Aussie. They can't say H. So they say cat. So some people can't say C, so they say hat. One or the other. We begin with the ancient tribe of Hatti, Kati. The name Chatti or Hatti, as it sometimes reads in Hebrew, means to break down. What did you just read? It means to break down by violence or confusion. Slap my britches. Wow. To break down by violence or confusion, to abolish, make afraid, make scare, or to make terrify. Chatti is a derivative of the Hebrew word for Hittite. Chitti, mentioned numerous times in the Bible. The Canaanite Hittites, a fierce people who continually clashed with the Israelites in biblical accounts, were known by this name. They were descendants of Ham, those of the darker colored skin. Whoops. There is a whoops here, or an oops. I hate when I say oops. That usually means I just deleted all my files. Yet there is another people with much lighter skin who are also known by this name. Chatti or Hatti, the Assyrians. Historians recognize that there were two distinct people which went by the name of Chatti or Hittite, as it reads in the Bible. Hatti means men of war. In Hebrew, the closest derivation of Chathas, whatever how you pronounce that, which is equal to terrorize, break down, as in war, hence a warrior or a man of war. And that guy that raped that girl is just using terror on that family. And that's what rape does when you use it as a weapon of war. And that's why I get so stinking mad about this. Because I know what I'm talking about today, and I heard that. And It's a weapon of war, and that's what's going on in Sweden, that's what's going on in Norway, and that's what's going on in England. And they don't want to report it because it's politically incorrect to say that it's Islam. Shut up, Joe, I'm about to say something bad. Go back and read my article about a month ago. Judith helped me work on it all summer. It's made her sick. Islam, the religion of rape. Go and read it. It's sickening. And it's coming to you to terrorize you. Not because they want to have sex, but because you've been exporting all these women all over the internet and on Facebook and movies, and that's all they think you are. Hittite in Strong's, number 2850, original word, YTX, from 2845, transliteration of the word Chitti, phonetic spelling, Kitti, or Hitti. Definition, Hittite, descendant of Heth. The nation descended from Heth, the second son of Canaan, once inhabitants of central Anatolia, modern Turkey. Later in northern Lebanon. So there's northern Lebanon down on the left there, you see where it is. There you see in the green the Assyrian Empire. So history is recording them as two separate things, but they're the same one. There's a bigger shot of it. We're going to come back to it. See, it's right there, it's called the land of Hatti. Now, when we go to number 2845, we get the following. Strong's number, 2845, original word, and it's TX. I'm not sure what TX is, but it's a whatever it is. Transliterated word of Cheth. Phonetic spelling, Keth. Definition, Heth, meaning terror. A son of Canaan, the progenitor of the Hittites. So a Hittite is a son of Heth, and Heth is equal to Ter, or TX. But we have also learned that the Hittites were also of the lighter skinned variety and also dwelt in Turkey. So looking them up, a primitive root TTX, translated a word Kathath, phonetic spelling, Kathath, definition, to be shattered. Oh, there's that word again. To be dismayed, to be broken, to be abolished, to be very afraid. Very is the word I inserted it. That's Joe Duman's opinion and interpretation. Take it for what it is. To be very afraid. To be shattered, to be broken, to be dismayed. To be broken, be dismayed, to be shattered, to be dismayed, to be scared, to cause, to dismay, terrify, to shatter. That's what this word means. That's the meaning of the word chatty. To be broken and shattered. Another Hebrew word, 2846, kathath, right? Each one of these words I looked up and kept looking up and kept going as far as I could go with each one to see what they mean. To take hold of, to seize, to take away, to stock up, pile up, and snatch up. Coals. Strong's number 2847, original word from 2865. You can see I'm fired up this morning. I had a good night's sleep. I fell asleep before I got out to the camp. Word chitta, phonetic spelling, kita, definition, terror, fear. Strong's number 2849, original word from TX, transliterated word, I can't even say it, shath. Again, terror. Each of these words we're looking up comes back to the word terror. There's the next one, shattered, dismayed, Next one, terror. Bottom line, terror. You now have a whole new understanding of this verse in Leviticus 26. I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror. All those things I teach, all the things that revolve around the sabbatical Jubilee years, all are about terror. And here we are talking about the curses for not keeping the sabbatical year in Leviticus 26. This should be a slap my britches moment. Now, you get an idea of how those appointed over you, called by the name of terror, who are your enemies, will be over you. Jehovah is sending the Chatti. He is sending the Hatti. Jehovah is sending the terror to you, Makir, to you, Israel, to you, Judah. Jehovah is sending it to you, Makir. Terror, the scattering abroad, the breaking in pieces. And you're seeing a theme here for the Assyrians. Jehovah is sending terror, and with it, he will break you in pieces. Daniel 2, verse 40. And the fourth kingdom, how many kingdoms are there? 4. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. That's not iron. It's going to be stronger than iron. As strong as iron. I got a new tool. You're going to hide that on me, aren't you? As strong as iron, inasmuch as iron breaks in pieces. There it is again right there in Daniel. Breaks in pieces, you have a clue. And scatters, shatters everything. And like iron that crushes, that kingdom will break in pieces and crush all others. This is serious stuff. Daniel 7:23, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on the earth, which shall be different from all the others, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it in pieces. Boom. Ain't a home run. Stop watching baseball. You don't got time for baseball anymore. It isn't the Olympics. You don't got time for that. And it isn't football. Give it up. You got things to study. You got things to learn. You're wasting your time with your TV. Take a hammer and break your TV in pieces. Because you don't got, well, not yet. Don't. I'm going to be on TV soon, hopefully. So, okay, so you don't have time to waste watching things that aren't teaching you Torah. There, that's better. Once again, references to the club of Thor or Cush, the breaking in pieces. It is imperative that you know your history in order to understand prophecy. What's that saying? If you don't know history, you're bound to repeat it. You don't know your history. You haven't figured out Hislop's what he's saying. You are being taken right here in these two verses. You're being taken right back to the time when Cush rebelled and destroyed the world. Peace. The world was in tranquility. Noah was in charge. The rebellion at the Tower of Babel is now coming right down to our time now, when the whole world is about to be broken in pieces. The whole world is about to be hammered so stinking hard that you'll be gasping for your breath. If you ever got the wind knocked out of you, and I have a number of times, you ever been kicked in the gut by a horse? You'll be sucking for air like you wouldn't believe. Among Sargon, so now we're going to start reading about the history of Assyria. Among Sargon's title was Sak, Saka, Saki, or Sako. And the great Kati. Oh, there's that word Kati again. The great Kati. His patron god was Enlil, or Sakar. Now some people try to say Enlil is the Jehovah. No. The name of Sak or Saka means the established lord or leader. He was addressed as a god and deified him as he was addressed as a god and deified as was his successor, Naram-Sin, who was the god of Akkad. Now who are the Akkadians? The Assyrians. Sargon was the first ruler of Assyria and was a conquering lord. Conquering. Because Sargon called himself Sak, And he who rules the four quarters, pay attention to that, there's another clue. He who rules the four quarters, it indicates an assumption on his part of being a divinity. As the title has been reserved for high gods, the Assyrian emperors took the title King of the Universe. In fact, from the time of Sargon of Hammurabi, the names of the Babylonian kings were often written with a determinative dinger, God. Used normally for gods, an object intended for worship, this foreshadowed the Caesar worship of Roman emperors and the coming beast, so graphically illustrated in the book of Revelation. Sargon even pronounced himself to be the very protege of the goddess Ishtar. These Assyrian warlords consider themselves so big and powerful. I'm so great, I've conquered so much land, I am a god. Therefore you hail me, or I'll chop your head off. Remember this scripture? The word of Jehovah came again to me, saying, Son of man, say to the ruler. For those of you listening, this is Ezekiel 28:1. Son of man, say to the ruler of Tyre, so says the Lord Jehovah, because your heart is lifted up. What did we just read about Sargon? And you have said, I am a god. What did we just read about Sargon? I sit in the seat of God. What did we just read about Sargon? In the midst of the seas. What's the seas? The midst of all the peoples. But the seas was the Caspian, the Mediterranean, the Persian, and the Black Sea. And they're in the midst of them. Yet you are a man and not God. Though you set your heart as a heart of God. So you've lifted yourself up by your own vanity. And behold, again, this still floors me, you are wiser than Daniel. This coming guy is going to be smart. He's going to understand the things that we're talking about. In the inscription, Sargon repeatedly invokes the sun god along with Sag, or Saki Enlil, and on one occasion the wife of Sag. He had several sons, of whom Manishushu, Pusi Asur, likewise worshipped the sun god and dedicated a stone mace to the queen of the sun god at the sun temple in Zipporah. Sag had a weapon, an emblem which Sargon appropriated, and when claiming victory over Uruk, vanquished his enemies and smote the city by the battle mace of Sargaka. Another chronicle states that Sargon won his battles with the weapon of Lord Sakartar. The mace is a blunt weapon, a type of club. There's the club. Man, I'm so glad I picked that up last night. I was just thinking of going for a walk with it. That's all I was thinking. So have you made the connections? Do you see it? The weapon of Lord Sakar is talking about is the same one that Janus or Vulcan or Cush used to break in pieces, which we've all just been talking about. Now, Professor Waddle, who's a professor of symbols, and I wrote a huge article on this. This is an amazing subject. Wrote that he felt that the tar, T-A-R, is a rendition of Thor. He continues, the name of this weapon and pictorial sign are of significance. Its sign pictures what is regarded as a thunderbolt with an arrowhead. And it appears, so next time you see a sign pointing in the bathroom, you'll think it's a thunderbolt. You really got to go. I got to make light. I just got to make light sometimes because this is so heavy and terrible. It is regarded as a thunderbolt with an arrowhead, and it appears to be the same weapon which is carried by the Sumerian Hercules, the top of which is sometimes figured as a cross. It's the same as a battle axe. So here's some more symbols of the same thing. Many of the first cross structures were those of the wheel cross. Remember what we just said, which was used by Assyria and ancient Egypt. In Assyria, at least, it clearly is a symbol of the sun. The cross represents the four corners of the earth. Remember Sargon, the god of the four corners. Remember just four slides here. I'm saying it again. I'm repeating. I actually read my notes last night. Remember just 4 slides back, we showed you that how Sargon called himself the god of the 4 corners of the earth. The Vulcan hammer on the left is the same as Thor's hammer. In hieroglyphics, it's represented by a cross of 4 hammers, as if in action on an arrow with a cross at the end of it. What? Think about it. There is a clear link between the, now I can't say this, Fylfot, F-Y-L-F-O-T, which is just another word for swastika, and the Germanic thunder god Thunor, Thor, or Donar, and this is via his hammer, and I'm not sure if I'm saying this right. Where's my Swedes? M-J-O-L-L-N-I-R, and I say that Mjolnir. The hammer is called Mjolnir. The image of Thor's weapon spinning end over end through the heavens is captured in art as a swastika symbol, common in Indo-European art and indeed beyond. That comes from Gods, Heroes, and Kings of the Battle of Mythic Britain by Christopher R. Fee. When Thor throws his mighty hammer, it gives the appearance of a rotating Fylfot, or swastika. The hammer represents one of the 4 arms of this sacred Aryan symbol. A sacred Aryan symbol. So when followers of the Asatru faith wear the hammer, check your jewelry, wear the hammer of Thunor around their necks, they are also in effect carrying a Fylfot or swastika. Stephen Taylor, in his book, The Fylfot File, also draws on this connection. The Fylfot was, amongst other things, the symbol of Thor, the Norse god of thunder. It represents a stylized version of his hammer, Mjolnir. And Mjolnir means smasher. Which he would throw as a weapon, and which would cause the rumblings of thunder and shattering power of lightning. That's from page 79. The association of the hammer with a sky god is to be found amongst other Indo-European cultures. The Baltic thunder god Pergons also carried a hammer called Milna, which may very well be linked linguistically to Mjolnir, along with the Russian Molninja and the Welsh Mellet, which both mean lightning. Thor's main symbol is the hammer, and you can now see the hieroglyphics work to portray an image of Thor's hammer that breaks in pieces. This is what the symbol of the swastika means and represents. Thor's hammer, which breaks in pieces. Check your jewelry. Check your bracelets. Check your kids' stuff. What have you got on? This is Thor's hammer. It is a double-headed battle axe, one of the symbols of the Assyrians. Now, maybe you can understand what's spoken of in Isaiah. Let's start in verse 12. And it will be when the Lord has broken off all his work on Mount Zion. The Lord has broken, there's a key word, on all his work on Mount Zion and on Jerusalem. I will punish the fruit of the proud. Who's the proud? The king of Tyre. The fruit of the proud heart of the king of Assyria, and the glory of his high looks. Verse 13, Isaiah 10. For he says, by his strength of hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am wise, and I have removed the bounds of the people. And that's a commandment, not to remove the boundaries of the people, but I've done it. And I have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the people like a strong man. Verse 15, Jehovah says to him, shall the axe boast itself against him who chops with it? Shall the saw magnify itself against him who moves it? As if the rod could wave those who lift itself up, as if a staff could rise what is not wood. Could raise what is not wood. Don't just read over these things and say, I don't understand. Learn them. Figure them out. You're given clues all the time. Verse 10, Isaiah 10, verse 5. Woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger. I like this thing. And the staff in my hand, my fury. Get me mad and let me start swinging this. You'll see a furious wild man going through the bush. This is made of hardwood. I don't know which one, hickory or oak or something, I don't know. Notice that the Assyrian is also compared to the rod of the master. So Jehovah has the Assyrian in his hand. He's being wielded by Jehovah. Jehovah is controlling them. Jehovah is sending them to you, Makir. The hammer, in later hieroglyphic form, is depicted as this symbol, the cross. And then this symbol, the iron cross. Thor's hammer is now represented as an iron cross. This is another symbol of Thor's hammer. It's in the Tyre rune. Rune is R-U-N-E, which is the Germanic alphabet. Now, T-Y-R is the rune. T-I-W-A-Z is another form of it, named after Tyre, the god of single combat, victory and heroic glory to Norse mythology. Thor is a god who wants to be a hero from war, from combat. Where do we get this notion going off to war and coming back as a war hero? It comes from this. This is the arrow that is also represented by the letter T, or the cross. The Tyre runes association with war meant that the SS thought of it as the Kampf, K-A-M-P-F, or battle rune, symbolizing military leadership. The SS commonly used it in place of Christian crosses on the grave markers of its members. It was also used by graduates of the SA, I can't say this word, Reichsführerschule, which trained SS officers until 1934. They wore it on their upper left arm. It was adopted as an emblem of the 32nd SS Volunteer Grenadier Division 30 Genois, which was assembled from the members of the SS schools in January 1945, as well as the SS recruitment of the training. You know, you see the symbol, you know what it means. Terror. The SS was stylized like the lightning of Thor, which the rune of the arrow represents. The Tyre rune also is represented by the modern word Tuesday. Old Norse Tyre, T-Y-R, literally God, plural Tivar, gods, comes from Proto-Germanic T-Waz, T-E-W-A-Z. Old English T-I-W, Old High German Z-I-O, which continues Proto-Indo-European D-E-I-W-O-S, D-Waz, celestial being or God. In Welsh, D-U-W, Latin, Deus, Lithuanian, Divaz, Sanskrit, Diva, Avestan, Davo, demon. And Dwaz, D-E-I-W-S, is based in a Didya, meaning to shine. Okay, I went through all that hard stuff because you want to understand what it means. It means to shine. Okay, they don't get it yet, Joe. We're going to come back to that. And on Shabbat, we're going to explain what the shining is. Because here it is. This is your first exposure to it. Okay, I better clue you in. What's he talking about? The serpent. Eve's in the Garden of Eden, right? She's talking to a snake. Are you nuts? Snakes don't talk. No. what does the word snake mean? I forget the actual word. I think it's nakash. Thank you, whoever said that. Nakash. It means like a bronze. It means like a shining. This being that came down and spoke to Eve was like God. He was shining. I would have talked to him. It's like God. He's shining. He's one of his angels. You'd talk to him too. That's why when Moses built the serpent on the staff, right? And this one's got twirls around. Isn't that neat? For a serpent. Remember your two serpents come up, your medical stuff, right? It was a shining. It was made out of bronze. It was shining. This word shining comes back to here. Who's the shining? Satan. That's where we're getting this from. Here's another symbol of the Tyre rune, which is the German alphabet. It looks like the shepherd's staff. This is such a good prop. The spinning hammer that breaks in pieces the whole world. The swastika. Now you know. Now you know what we're up against. But we're not done, because I haven't proven this beyond all doubt. Because now I'm about to tick some of you off. So you ready? And if I don't do it, who will? You know, remember what I said? I love you, but I don't care if you like me or not. It's a sad position I'm in. I want you to like me. I like to have friends. But I'm more afraid of my father than I am of you. And I got my stick now. Right? So get ready. Thor's main symbol is the hammer, thunderbolt, Mjolnir. An alternative depiction is the Filofet or swastika, recorded in Icelandic folklore. Notice the swastika on Thor's hammer. You will notice the halo, which is symbolic of the sun god he worships. Nimrod was the sun god. You will also notice the stars are what is now called the Magen David. Only they predate David. This symbol predates David by 1,000+ years. The so-called Magen David star is nothing but a symbol that represents this Nimrod or the sun god. And I'm stepping on toes, and I know it, because I want you to be closer to Jehovah than you were when you came. And I want him to hear your prayers. This is another symbol representing Thor. Here we have the hammer of Thor represented by the swastika. And it's in the circle, which represents the sun god. And it has the serpent, which represents Satan. This is Thor. Another symbol of Thor was the stars, as we have seen here already. And here it is again. And today you call it the Star of David. But it's not. It's a star of Thor, the sun god. In that star is the arrow, which here is the cross, and the looped tau cross, right? And it's also known as the Asate cross. It was an ancient Egyptian symbol of life and fertility, predating the modern cross, which people use as their symbol for Christianity, which they think came from the crucifixion. So I'm not just putting my boot up your butt, I'm putting my boot up everybody else's butt. What symbol represents your faith? He doesn't have a symbol. He's bigger than you put him in the box you're trying to put him into by your star or by your cross. This again, what you're looking at here is the symbolism of Thor or Cush, the one who rebelled and caused confusion of the languages. You've seen this picture. These are the Chaldean priests, the priests of Tammuz, who are also known as Nimrod's priests, with the cross symbol of the sun and fertility all over their clothes. This is from long before there was a Jesus. Long before, because these same symbols are showing up in the Indian religion. I forgot the name. Vishnu. Same symbols. So are you wearing a cross around your neck? Are you wearing a Star of David around your neck? What symbol are you using to brand your faith? Notice the iron cross in this ancient Assyrian sculpture. It's on his chest, and then notice the star that he's pointing to. The same symbols found on the garments of the Pope. The star and the cross, both symbols of Cush, and later when Nimrod took over. Again, here's another picture of the star representing the sun god. Stephen, just before he was stoned, said this. And this is that Moses who said to you, sons of Israel, the Lord your God will never make it. The Lord your God shall rise up a prophet to you from your brothers, one like me. You shall hear him. This is he who was in the congregation in the wilderness with the angel, who spoke to him in Mount Sinai, and with your fathers, who received the living words to give to us, to whom our fathers would not be obedient. To whom our fathers would not be obedient? But thrust him away and turned back again to Egypt in their hearts, saying to Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moses who brought us up of the land of Egypt, we do not know what's become of him. So this is the gods they made for him. This is from Saudi Arabia, Jabal al-Laz. This is the bull that they made. And they made it out of gold. And they made the calf in those days and offered sacrifice to the idol and rejoiced in the work of their own hands. It's a bull. It represents Nimrod's government. This is the same bull used today to represented in Europe in front of the European Parliament. In Greek mythology, this is Europa, and was a Phoenician woman of high lineage, whom the name of the continent Europe is ultimately been taken or named after. Zeus was enamored of Europa and decided to seduce or ravage her. What are we talking about this morning? Raping. The two being near equivalent in Greek mythology. He transformed himself into a tame white bull and mixed in, they're sneaky, they sneak in with the other father's herd. While Europa and her helpers were gathering flowers, she saw the bull and caressed his flanks and eventually got onto its back. Zeus took that opportunity and ran into the sea and swam with her on his back to the island of Crete. And I just realized, why does Germany want Crete so bad in the European Union? He then revealed his true identity, and Europa became the first queen of Crete. Some readers interpret that as man, so that's the story of it. In Greek, the name Europa, wide or broad, and broad with eyes, or broad face. It suggests that Europa as a goddess represented the cow with a wide face, which is Hathor, at least on the same symbolic level. So I'm going to cut my notes, we're getting behind. But right here, look at what's on her head. The horns of Hathor, the bull, or not the bull, the cow, which is Semiramis. But what's in the horns? It's the sun god. And what you're looking at there is them copulating together. So today in Revelation 17, we have the same symbols being used. And one of the seven angels who had the seven vials came and talked to me saying, come here and I will show you the judgment of the great harlot sitting on many waters. Europa is the harlot and bull is the beast that she's sitting on. And it's the symbols for Europe and they know it. But you guys don't want to know it. You keep hiding your head. Revelation 7:2, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication and became drunk. With the wine of her fornication, those inhabiting the earth. This is Der Spiegel. This is when Europa became Europe. The United States of Europe, 1999, I think it is. Symbolical year in the prophecies of Abraham. And he carried me away into the desert by the Spirit, and I saw a woman sitting on scarlet. You guys know this stuff. Acts 7, verse 41. And they made a calf. There's the calf, talking about the calf, the cow, the bull, Europe. And they made a calf in those days, and they offered sacrifice to the idol and rejoiced in their work of their hands. And then God turned and gave them orders to serve the host of heavens. Who's the host of heavens? Nimrod, and Semiramis. As it is written in the book of the prophets, O house of Israel, have you offered to me slain beasts and sacrificed 40 years in the wilderness? No, they didn't make sacrifices in the wilderness. Yea, you took up the tabernacle of Molech and the star of your god Rephan, images which you made in order to worship them, and I will remove you beyond Babylon. I'm not going to belabor that. That symbol is the star of Thor. You decide what you want to do. But every time you put up a symbol, whether it's a cross, a crucifix, a fish god, a menorah, fish god, Star of David, whatever it is, whatever symbol represents your faith, you are putting a block between you and Jehovah, because he has no symbol. Do you know why it's so hard to find anything about the kings of Israel and their religion? Because they have no symbols. Why do we know so much about the Assyrians? Because they had all kinds of symbols. Same with the Babylonians. They had false gods that we've been able to trace. Wake up. The feathers are about to fly, and if you're not on the right side of the fence, you're going to fly with them. This is where you get your Star of David from. This is where we get the cross from, the swastika. 1 Kings 11:4, for it happened when Solomon was old, his wives turned away in his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with Jehovah his God, as with the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom. Milcom is the god you sacrifice your babies to. You put them on his hands red hot when they're alive, and you beat the drum so you can't hear them screaming. And then they roll off into a pit, and they find these pits with all these little babies in it. And we don't know what that is. It's right there, to Milcom, who is Molech, the abominations of the Amorites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of Jehovah. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, screwed up at the end and did not go fully after Jehovah like his father David. And it's the star that he brought in. This is the place where he did the sacrifices. This is the place where he did these altars to these other gods. This is the place where I sleep when I'm at Jerusalem. It's called the Mount of Offense. It's right there. This is where Yeshua was killed. And the tomb that he was buried in are right there. Today the symbol for Molech is this Christmas tree. And the star, or the symbol of Asheroth, is still the star. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed since we came out of the wilderness those 40 years. Nothing has changed since Stephen condemned Israel for doing this, and he got stoned for it. Joe, they got guns. This is U.S. I got to make it light, but it's not funny at all. The Assyrian people of the Bible today are known as Germany. So now I got to prove this to you. Just in case you haven't figured it out, I got to start spelling it. I know you guys are sons of Makkur and you're Americans. I got to spell it out for you because I know some of you. Hatti means men of war. Carmen was a tribe in Assyria, and it also means men of war. And Carmen would later be known as Kerman with a K, and this was later changed to German. Here is Thor's hammer, the iron cross and swastika, all the symbols of Thor. Notice that the Thor hammer is now a sword, because the hammer part is up there in the handle. The hammer was later depicted as this symbol. The Star of David again can be seen here. This is the ruins from Assyria. The ruins from Assyria. Thor's main symbol is his hammer. Thunderbolt, Mjolnir, the lightning. Here's the lightning. We've already spoken of it. I'm not going to read that again. So this is where the Assyrians took the Israelites in the captivity. Keep in mind the symbol of the Assyrians. Thor's hammer, to break in pieces the enemy. They did this by breaking up the defeated and moving them all over the place so that they could not unify themselves together. Assyria did that then, and they still do it today. And they will do it tomorrow. Okay, I gotta say this. Ezekiel, I think it's Ezekiel 20. I'm going to say this someplace, Ezekiel 20. I, Jehovah, will move all of you out of your place. out of your place. Your place, your home. I will move all of you, every single one of you, out of your place. He doesn't say exactly, I'm emphasizing. But he says, oh, none of the rebellious, not one of the rebellious will enter into my land. So all the rebellious ones are going to be taken out of their homes, but none of them are going to make it into the land. What happens to them? They're dead. They die along the way. They're going to be left in the fields rotting for bird meat. They're not going to be buried. This God of love and peace that everyone talks about is not the God in your Bible. He's a jealous El, and he's jealous for you, and he wants you to love him and obey him, but he wants you to do it of your own free accord. Because if you don't, then you worship Satan, and Satan wants to kill you. He doesn't want you to know about him. So here again is the Hittite kingdom. This is 1300 BC. And Assyria is right there in the green. Here's the Babylonian kingdom. Guess what the Babylonians did to the Assyrians when they captured them and defeated them around 612, 604 BC? They transported them the same way the Assyrians did. So the Babylonians do the same thing. They move people out of their place so that they can be disorganized. So the Assyrians got moved as well. Go figure. When Hosea was killed in 609 BC by Necho of Egypt, Assyria lost control of Judea, and it is now taken from that date that the 70 years of captivity begin. You ever try to figure out the 70 years? This is what Daniel was trying to figure out. When did the 70 years begin? When do they end? Because Babylon just fell, 539 BC. It began when Assyria lost authority over Judea to the Babylonians. Do you see on this map? You're all nodding. You don't see what I'm even talking about yet. You're learning just to agree what I'm saying. That's not good. Prove everything. Because in the big picture, I'm nothing. In the small picture, I'm not nothing. I'm nothing again. Right here. See that? What's that say? Carmania. Here, let me help you out. There it is there again. Carmania. Underneath in brackets, Kerman. Where is that today? That's modern Iran. Oh yeah, there it is there again. Right here. Carmania. Okay? Here's another map. Where'd you go? Carmania. Right there. Okay? What do we got down here? This is the Persian Gulf. There's that narrow spot. There's Carmania, right? Over here is something like Afghanistan today. Another map. What am I looking for? Oh, there it is. Kerman. The city of Kerman. The Kermanes. There's a province of Kerman. The Assyrians left with the Israelites when the Persian Empire was attacking, the Persians and the Medes. The Kermans, right here, with the Yats. Who are the Yats? We haven't even got to that. We had to miss that part yesterday. The Yats are the Jews. Who's that there? You can't see that. That's the Saxons. You know where the Saxons are? There's the Messengeti. We talk about the Messengeti. So there's the Messengeti. You go up over the top. Here's the Saxons. They go underneath to the Caucasus Mountains. And the Kermans go with them. How many of you know any Kermans today? My brother-in-law is a Kerman. Carmen. German. Okay? How many of you are German? Oh, no! I'm only kidding. They mingled together when they weren't fighting. This map here, it represents circa 230 to 500 AD. So this migration, everyone just didn't get up and leave. It's like you guys. You know, you've been, what, 200, just about 300 years. You started on the west coast, now, or on the east coast, and you now got to the west coast, and you filled up everything in between. People move. You see it here? Let me read it to you. German, okay, I'll spell it. Germanicopolis. 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 It's Greek. also called Caesarea Germanica, was an ancient town in Caesarea Bithynia. Okay, so I couldn't find the actual map with that on it. On the Gelbis River, not far from Prusa, modern Bursa in Turkey. There's Bithynia. So everything I'm talking about is right here on this river. Okay? There is Istanbul right today. So this is Bithynia that I'm talking about. In earlier times it was called Helgi, Helgas, or Bus-Kote. Where's Mr. Kote? Ring a bell? Bus-Kote. Modern scholars locate the town at the village of Tatali. Persa, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Persa, right there. Big words, I can't even see that. Persa, which today is modern, Prusa, P-R-U-S-A, which today is modern Bursa, is where we get the modern Prussians from. The people of Dessau, Germany, a very old state in northern Germany, claim their ancestors came from Lake Asinius in Bithynia. Near this lake are two cities of spell this out, P-R-U-S-I-A-S and P-R-U-S-A. These two cities are near this place. And here's the modern Prussians as they were in 1815. So they've moved from Turkey up to here. The Hittites have moved. Here's where the Chadi, remember the Chadi? We talked about them in the very beginning. Here's where they migrated to according to ancient, who's this? Ancient Roman historians. One of the tribes were the Alemanni. Anyone speak French? Oh, come on, you guys can't be that. You speak Spanish. Come on, anyone speak Spanish? See? Okay. What's the German word for Spanish? Oh, they don't know. Okay, the German word for in French is Allemand. Alemanni. Okay. Oh, you're Cuban, that's close enough. How do you say it in Spanish? Alemania. You're just being shy. One of the tribes were the Alemanni. Only foreigners called them the Alemanni, but they gave themselves the name of Suevi. Suevi. Another Syrian tribe were the Thuringians. Here's the Thuringians right there. There's the Alemanni. The Alemanni called themselves Suevi. Foreigners called them Alemanni. Allemand is German in French. Okay? I'm going to show you this next section and then I'm going to stop. I'm not going to say promise because I may change my mind. This is a Hittite double-headed eagle. This is a symbol of all the Hittites. And here we find it at Hattusha, capital of the Hittite Empire, 1650 to 1190 BC. Notice again the double-headed eagle right here. Here's another, this is a seal impression. So this is a seal of the Assyrian kings. From Ashur, seal of an Assyrian king of the 14th century BC. Here again from Ashur is the double-headed eagle. Right there. The Iron Cross. Right there. But also notice this. Notice this symbol, the wings around the circle. The circle is the sun god. Ham. You ready? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we take off here, please fasten your seatbelt. Hold on to your socks because we're about to show you something that's going to rock them off. It rocks my socks. Here's the modern symbol for the state of Germany. The coat of arms in the time of the German Confederation, the Holy Roman Empire, right there. And the current coat of arms of Germany, right here. Heraldry identifies who's who in the modern world. Just like I was trying to show you about the symbols of Judah, the Hittites have symbols too. and they've hung on to them, and they're now part of their national symbol. The male figure here possibly Shamash or Ashur. In an Assyrian winged sun emblem, this is in the British Museum. There it is again, the Behistun rock, which shows us the capture of some of our ancestors. See the guy here at the end, right here, the toque? That's the Canadian guy. But note the winged circle above. It's the sun god Ashur, or Nimrod. And all the heraldry we have shown you thus far is put together in one symbol of Germany. The eagle with the wings outstretched, and the circle of the sun god, and the symbol of the hammer of Thor, the swastika. An extended arm salute was accompanied by the cry, Sieg und Heil, Sieg Heil, which means victory and, what are they doing? Right hand, Sieg und Heil, victory and salvation. To the emperor. The title of Ashur, the national god of Assyria, was Saha, which means victorious, the mighty overcoming. Saha is cognate with Gothic Sig and German Sieg, and is also another symbol of the lightning bolt, as we shared earlier. Right? You ever notice when they do that? It's quick, like lightning. I'm going to go through this next session really quick because it's really interesting. It's just the oldest city in Germany was founded by Ninus. We're going to go through that. I'm just going to blow through it. But I want to get to this other thing because you're going to like this. So this is the building that has the oldest symbol. The first city ever founded by Ninus. Here's the picture of Ninus inside, blah, blah, blah. Go look it up. Revelation 2:12. And to the angel of the church of Pergamos write, he who has a sharp sword with two edges says these things. The sharp sword of two edges. Jehovah speaking. I know your works and where you live, even where Satan's seat is. And you hold fast my name. Sounds like sacred namers. And have not denied my faith, even in those days in which Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Satan dwells. Here's Pergamum. Okay, remember Pergamum? What was up here? Bithynia. Germanoculus. Well, you know, whatever that word is. And Prussia and Prusa were right there. And here's Pergamum. Wow, I thought, isn't that interesting? So here it is. The Pergamum altar is a massive structure originally built in the 2nd century BC in the ancient Greek city of Pergamum. The temple was dedicated to the Greek god Zeus. The Pergamum altar was shipped out of the Ottoman Empire from the original excavation site by the German archaeological team led by Karl Humann, and reconstructed in the Pergamum Museum in Berlin in the 19th century, where it can be seen alongside other monumental structures such as the Ishtar Gate from Babylon. Wow! Hitler used to go here to pray. A German archaeologist, Karl Humann, began excavating the altar on September 9, 1878. The altar was then moved back to Germany and reconstructed. Kaiser Wilhelm II celebrated its erection in Berlin in 1902. In 1933, Adolf Hitler was elected Chancellor of Germany. In 1934, he became dictator and ordered construction of the Tribune at Zebulon Field in Nuremberg for his Nazi rallies. These were huge, huge things to motivate people. The architect, Albert Speer, used the Pergamum altar, used the Pergamum altar as the model for the Zebulon Tribune. The Führer's pulpit, what? The Führer's pulpit was in the center of the tribune. Right there. See, these are all people. These are all people here. And the pulpit's up there. The Führer's pulpit was in the center of the tribune, which was built from 1934 to 1937. Adolf Hitler, the evil king of Germany, started World War II in 1939. After the end of the war, after the end of World War II, the Soviets took the Pergamum altar to Leningrad in 1948, the same year as the birth of Israel, as spoils of war. The altar was later returned in 1958. Berthold Conrad Hermann Albert Speer, I'm giving you a little history. I want to share this with you. 1905, born 1905, died 1981, was a German architect who was, for a part of World War II, Minister of Armaments and War Production for the Third Reich. Speer was Adolf Hitler's chief architect before assuming ministerial office as the Nazi who said sorry. So during the Nuremberg trials, he's the only one that apologized for what took place. He apologized for not standing up and doing something about the slaughter that was taking place amongst the Jews. He repented. And he's the only one that lived. Everyone else was executed. Notice he lived until 1981. One of Speer's first commissions after Troost death, which was another architect, was the Zeppelin Field Stadium. The Nuremberg parade grounds seen in Lenny, I can't say his name, propaganda masterpiece, Triumph of Will. That's the name of the movie, Triumph of Will. This huge work was able to hold 340,000 people. The Tribune was influenced by the Pergamum altar in Anatolia, but was magnified to an enormous scale. Speer insisted that as many events as possible be held at night, both to give the greater prominence of lighting. Who's the angel of shining? To give the greater prominence to his lighting effects and to hide the individual Nazis who were a little bit large in the stomach, many of whom were overweight. Speer surrounded the site with 130 aircraft searchlights. This created the effect of a cathedral of light. Who's the angel of light? And it was called by the British ambassador Sir Neville Henderson a cathedral of ice. Speer described this as his most beautiful work and as the only one that stood the test of time. Once again, I'm getting ahead of my notes again. Once again, Satan is showing himself as the angel of light. Keep this in mind when we get to Shabbat. Yeah, I got to show you this because it ties into this morning. Okay? So there we have, we read that, Genesis 10:12. Here's the Assyrian Empire, there's the Babylonian Empire, there's the Medo-Persian Empire. Notice that each one is over top of the same place. Right? It's the same place. Here's the Greek Empire, again over the same place. Here's the Roman Empire, again over the same place. This is the Muslim Empire. Not over the same place. Well, it's over the southern part of the same place. This is the king of the south. Here's the Ottoman Empire. And they fell apart at World War I. And they went from 1600 to 1923. That's it, they're done. Daniel 11, verse 40. And at the end of time, the king of the south shall butt at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a tempest, with chariots, and with horsemen, and with many ships. A whirlwind. Who's the whirlwind? Who's the blitzkrieg? Blitzkrieg, boom, bang, they're there. Guess what Germany just created? A unit that can land anywhere in the world within 2 days. A full military operation that is amphibious and be able to take anywhere to settle any dispute, boom, in a couple days. To be able to transport your empire, your strength through war to any other country is a magnificent thing. And the only people who are able to do that are you folks right now. And the British. The Chinese are getting there. Daniel 11, verse 41. And he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. He shall also enter into this glorious land, and many shall be stumbled. That means stumbled means fall. But these shall escape out of his hand. Edom, Moab, the chief of the city of Ammon. That's Jordan today. And he shall stretch out his hand on the lands, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. You see that part that says glorious land? That's the promised land. That's Israel. The king of the north is coming into Israel. The United Nations. And they're coming in the name of peace to protect Israel. But he shall have power over the treasure of gold and silver and over all the precious things. Egypt, the Libyans, the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. What's this Arab Spring all about? The Arab Spring? You've been reading about it. What's it all about? Is Syria the end of the world? No. Read the next verse. It says, after Syria becomes a pile of rubble, then Ephraim will become lean. Revelation 13. You know this. You know this. We can give you all the leaders of the 7 heads through the Roman Empire up to modern day. Most of those heads, you'll notice, are German. Except for this one, who is a Frenchman. There's one more coming. But at the end of time, the king of the south shall butt at him. The king of the south has not yet attacked Europe. The king of the south is the Islamic nation that you see there now taking place. The 2 leaders in that nation are Egypt and Iran. And they're jousting back and forth. And right now we just had Morsi become buddies with Iran. But now Morsi got the boot. This thing's in flux all the time. What's going on? Something's about to happen. What's so important about Egypt is because the Suez Canal is there, and that's where all the oil ships go through that supply Europe with their oil. You take that away, they're going to come down. Why did they take on Libya? Because that guy was a real bad guy, Gaddafi. And you guys are such suckers for helping him out. Gaddafi, he killed more people in his entire 40 years than he did in the last little bit. And you wanted to take him out. Why? To help that little rebellion going on. You won't go into Syria and help them for killing thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, but the minute they use a little bit of gas, you want to go in. You guys are nuts. You're hypocrites. And my government wants to go with yours on it, so we're hypocrites too. Don't let me kid you. They're going to come at you with a blitzkrieg, a whirlwind, a tempest. Assyrians were and are and still are today the king of the north. Germany will go against the king of the south in a blitzkrieg, a whirlwind. What that is, I don't know. But here it is. There's Europe. There's the European Union. There's Germany, who's the only nation that's got any power. Do you know that Germany is the 3rd largest exporter of armaments? That's stunning, considering they were defeated in the war and not supposed to be doing this stuff. All the green are Muslim countries. All the red, well, you know the red, that's Israel. Psalm 83. You know Psalm 83. I'm going to read it anyway. O Elohim, O El, O Jehovah, do not, and I said to him this morning, stop hiding. Not that he's hiding, let you guys see it. Do not be speechless. Do not remain silent. Do not be still, O El. For look, your enemies make an uproar, and those hating you lifted up their heads. They craftily plot against your people. They conspire against your treasured ones, your anointed ones. What does David say? Touch not my anointed. That's why I get mad. They have come. Let us wipe them out as a nation. Who's saying that today? And let the name of Israel be remembered no more. Who's saying that today? For they have conspired together with one heart, and they have made a covenant, a covenant against you. The tents of Edom, the Ishmaelites, Moab, and the Hagarites, Gibel, and Ammon, and Amalek, Philistia, with the inhabitants of Zor. Asher also has joined with them. Remember Sesame Street? Duck, 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 dog. Duck, 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 dog. One of these doesn't belong. One of these doesn't belong. And all you have to do to stop the song is guess which one doesn't belong. The duck or the dog. Asher is not Arab. Asher is German. And are you aware that right now in Germany you cannot pass out Bibles, but you can go door to door passing out Korans? Daniel 11:38, but in his place he shall give esteem to a mighty one of strongholds. Remember at the beginning I said, let's make the tower of brick. Remember that? There she is. the Tower of Brick. Who is that? That's Sybil, the Queen of Heaven, the God of fortresses. Today, her name is called the Blessed Virgin Mary, the mother worshipped by the Catholic Church, and maybe some of us. I did. This is by whom Germany have gained power through the Holy Roman Empire and through the Pope. And they will use it again to help unite Europe. And they're doing it now in the nightly news. And to a mighty one which his fathers did not know. He shall give esteem with gold and silver, with precious stones and costly gifts. The God that his fathers did not know only came on the scene in 700 AD. And this is the part of the Holy Roman Empire that they don't have under Europe control right now. Why is Germany coming into Mali over here to save a bunch of tribesmen? And why is Al-Qaeda fighting everyone all over the place here? There's a war going on here for control. And Germany is going to come in and take it and wrestle it. But they're going to convert to Islam. Because they don't care about religion, all they care is about power. And if you got to convert to Islam to control the empire, then let's do that. Daniel 11:36, and the king shall do according to his will, and shall exalt and magnify himself above every god. Whoop, that sounds familiar. We've read that before. And shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper until the fury is fulfilled, for that which is decreed shall be done. He will not regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above them all. But in his place he shall honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers did not know. We just read that. So he shall act with the God of fortresses at the strongholds, with a strange God whom he shall acknowledge. And he shall multiply in glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide, whoops, here we go, there it is, divide the land, chaos, boom, thunder, Thor, right there, for a price. The 10 toes are dividing the land up into 10 sections. The United Nations, Agenda 21, has already got the world divided in 10 sections, and you can have a section for a price. We're going to talk about that. So when is all of this to take place? That's the real key point here. That separates the men from the boys. When is Europe to unite with the Muslim nations? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Yosemite Shabu is about. And I'm not going to tell you now. Shavuim, yes, whoever said that, thank you, clear me up. So here, just another little quick thing. Notice, during World War II, Hitler and the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Amin al-Husseini, before the war, deciding what to do with the Jews. So the Grand Mufti was given a great honor, and he created a Muslim SS crack troop regiment in Bosnia. He was the uncle to Yasser Arafat. This group of SS troops in Bosnia, they raped and they pillaged and they destroyed, and they didn't care what your excuse was, they just shot you. They took 0 prisoners. Do a study on them. They were ruthless because they hated the Jews more passionately than anyone else. The SS troops up in Germany, yeah, they were bad too. They did the same thing, but these guys were worse. And see the salute that he's given? Sieg und Heil. Now look at what they're doing. Sieg und Heil. Sieg und Heil. Victory is ours. Victory is ours. And these are all Muslims being trained by the same thing through Yasser Arafat, and now passed on down to all these different Muslim groups that are fighting there. There it is again, in Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, war is coming. And it's on a freight train, and it's going full speed, and you cannot stop it, even if you got the whole world to repent, and you're not going to. But if you could, that might change things a little bit. But you're not going to. There's 2 great wars coming. The first one involves you. And because of that, your name is not mentioned in the Bible. Russia and China are, why aren't you? Because you're Israel, McCurr. You get punished. Judgment is on the house of Israel first. Leviticus 26, coming back to the curses for the sabbatical and jubilee cycles. And if you will not be reformed by me, by these things, but will still walk contrary to me, then I will walk contrary to you and will punish you 7 times more for your sins. Another sabbatical cycle. And I, Jehovah, will bring a sword on you to execute the vengeance of my covenant. The covenant that you break has got me so mad, I'm jealous, I'm going to avenge it on you. And when you are gathered inside your cities for a defense, I will send a plague among you, and you shall be delivered captives into the enemy's hands, into the Muslims' hands, and into the Assyrian hands. And that thing that I talked about this morning about the child that's being raped by a Muslim is going to happen to you if you don't repent. Your only hope is to be obedient. No matter how many guns you got, how much ammo you got, or how much food and water you got, or how secret a place you got in your secret place, it ain't going to help. Get that through your thick Israelite heads. Well, slap my britches, I got enough guns to take on half the world. I got a secret hiding place with, my deer pine's got in front of it, and then you can't find me. Wake up. When I have broken, there's that word broken. Broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake it. You're going to go lean. When Damascus becomes a pile of rubble, Ephraim becomes lean. There's the numbers, folks. There's the numbers. 90% of you will die. 90% of Israel is about to die. And if you don't speak up, if you don't start shouting out this message, you don't start, if I have convinced, because you guys are still standing here and you're kind of hungry, you're still standing, so you know there's something to what I'm saying. Prove me wrong, or prove me right. And if you prove me right, you've got a responsibility, because if you see the sword coming, you got to shout out a warning. And it can't be just me. You didn't know you were coming to keep Sukkot and get this, did you? I'm not even started yet. Because you haven't seen the other stuff I'm going to show you. Like I said, I got a hell of a hard message to give you. To start talking, stick your head out of your butt and start